Australia seems to have joined the movement supporting Ukraine while placing sanctions on Russia as a punitive measure. Utilising its sanctions mechanism, Australia has recently decided to ban all exports of alumina and bauxite to Russia. The country appears to be following in the footsteps of the West, where imposing sanctions has increasingly become a way of engaging in economic warfare. The humanitarian crisis in Ukraine has only worsened with time, with individuals losing their lives and living under the constant threat of attacks. Many nations resort to non-violent means while standing in solidarity with Ukraine, including Australia. Imposing the first set of sanctions in February, Australia joined a list of countries battling against Russia's actions, including the United States, the European Union, Canada, Germany and Britain. Please subscribe to the channel. I'm Sage for Kalkinemedia. Last month, Prime Minister Scott Morrison stated that Australia would stand up against Russia and its partners. He further noted that the first tranche of sanctions against Russia followed subsequent tranches. Here is a look at Australia's sanctioning efforts against Russia to support Ukraine. Australia seems determined to impose sanctions to stand up to the bullies. Initially, the country placed sanctions against several of Russia's elite citizens and lawmakers. Australia targeted 8 senior Russian security officials and the oil and gas sector in its first effort to stand against Russia. Australian PM also cautioned that those supporting the extreme stance taken by Russia could also see retaliation from the country. While keeping in line with ongoing global developments, Australia has vowed to expand its actions if Russia retaliates in a daunting manner. The first set of bans targeted the Russian President's Security Council members, restricting their travel into Australia. At the initial stage, financial sanctions were imposed on members of the Russian Federation Council, a body chaired by Vladimir Putin himself. Despite these sanctions, geopolitical tensions continue to escalate. Most political parties have supported the actions taken by the Australian government. Alternatively, efforts have been placed to ensure Ukrainians receive aid in a faster visa acceptance process. And some of the initial sets of direct benefits announced by Australia for Ukrainians include automatic extensions on visas of Ukrainians living in Australia, allowing skilled workers and students to migrate. Australia had also imposed sanctions against the armed forces of the Russian Federation. Early in March, targeted financial and travel restrictions were placed against Russian military commanders. A total of 10 high-profile Russian officers were targeted under the tranche of sanctions. Additionally, Australia targeted 11 financial institutions in Russia via economic sanctions, including the Central Bank of Russia. Moving on, let's now take a look at the new sanctions imposed on Russia. Since travel and financial bans might not show much effect in the short term, Australia recently introduced a fresh tranche of sanctions against Russia, and this time Australia aimed to hamper the direct exports of bauxite and alumina to Russia. The move is crucial for the Russian aluminium sector, contributing heavily to Russian exports. Sanctions were imposed shortly after Canberra sanctioned Oleg Deripaska, the Russian billionaire. He owns a stake in Queensland Alumina, a joint venture between a Russian aluminium company and Australian mining pioneer Rio Tinto. Apart from relying on retaliatory measures, Australia has also offered assistance to Ukraine where circumstances are becoming challenging each passing day. Australian authorities recently announced that the country would donate around 70,000 tonnes of thermal coal to Ukraine as a goodwill gesture, and besides that, military equipment and humanitarian aid will be provided to Ukraine from Australia. The bottom line: by imposing these sanctions, Australian authorities intend to put maximum cost and maximum pressure on Russians to leave Ukraine. The new set of bauxite and alumina sanctions take the total tally to 476 sanctions on the oppressing country's individuals and institutions. However, it could take some time before the collective efforts of several nations compel Russia to step back from its tormenting stance. If you like this information, do let us know by liking, sharing, commenting on the video below and subscribe to the channel. If you press the bell icon, you'll be notified every time Kalkine releases a new video. For more articles, please head to the website. It's kalkinemedia.com. I'm Sage for Kalkine Media.